Welcome back to the Behind the Well Show. I'm your host, Roger Abel, here with Elias Randall. Elias, beautiful sunny summer day out there. What's going on in your world?
Yeah, it's a nice day out. We got, we've just been really busy. It's a nice day out, and got several topics to talk about today that we're going to get through on the show.
Did you get your mower fixed?
Yeah,
the
that's
last show,
all.
I think you talked. Did you talk about your mower on the last show or not?
Yes, yeah. So the lawnmower, I don't know if I talked about it, but
We talked about it in between the show, probably.
yeah. So yeah, I had a lawnmower that a tension pulley came off, so I got to put that back on and put the belt back on. Easy fix. Anyone can fix that. So
I was just curious you had it fixed.
yeah, no, we have to because have to mow every week now. It's summertime, so you can't just not mow your grass.
I don't like the sounds of that.
Sounds of what?
Mowing. I don't want to mow.
Yeah, well, you have a small yard, and
I
you
did
pay
that.
someone else to mow. My yard's expensive to pay someone else to mow.
So, I was actually not totally intentional about that, but, we have the pool in the back. I poured an extra amount of concrete.
That's a great
so that
idea.
I didn't have to mow.
That's the best reason to have an in-ground pool and a big patio is then there's no grass.
There's no grass. Well, you've been back there. After you do the landscaping, I've got like a little one sprinkler can cover the whole backyard grass. It's great.
You should get one of those robots to mow your yard.
Yeah, I've seen that the neighbors. I don't know. I have the local lawn care shop come. It's like $60 a week. And they blow it off, they trim it. Because I don't think that I'd sought the trim and all that other stuff, and it wouldn't get done. My neighbors appreciate me having lawn care because if I didn't, my yard wouldn't look. I don't think it looked that great.
Well, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I mean, I would do it like every 2 weeks. It'd be like,
You can't mow your grass every 2 weeks in your neighborhood. People have nice yards in your neighborhood.
That's why we have lawn service.
Yeah. Yeah. So should we dive into the topics?
Yeah, let's go.
Here. So I think I don't remember exactly how long ago, but do you remember a while back we were talking about the buy now, pay later? Well, there's actually some changes kind of in the works for credit scores and credit reporting. And I don't think there's actually 7 major highlights. A lot of it has to do with buy now, pay later, how they're going to look at medical bills. And then they're actually using some different data to track how people's finances are trending. So I think they can get a better snapshot of the quality of consumer to be able to loan money to. So you got a question? Yeah.
So buy now, pay later. It's been like my favorite hot topic out there because nobody knows what it is. It's called phantom debt. I had some individuals in last night that I sat down with, and they had no idea that buy now, pay later didn't report to credit bureaus. He was talking, he works in an industry where I think he's a controller or plant manager, and he was talking about how things are really slowing. Last summer, trucks were full, showed up every day. Now, earlier in the spring, trucks weren't full, and now there's trucks that don't show up every day because there's not enough product on the truck to justify hiring a driver to bring it out. And then I mentioned buy now, pay later, and he got really scared. He goes, you mean to tell me there's potentially all this debt out there that nobody knows about? I said, not potentially, it's real. And
the credit reporting companies don't know of it as of now, but that's going to be changing.
He has employees talking about it. It's on every website. Nobody really knows how big this market even is. And, every time there's bad things that happen in the economy, there's always like a catalyst that starts it, right? Which the catalyst of what's going on right now is high interest rates, which have been persistent for over a year. But there's always another catalyst that kind of, for lack of better terms, just puts fuel on the fire.
There is. I don't know that. I guess that's a good question. Is the phantom debt out there an indicator? I guess I'm not sure what it's an indicator of. I certainly believe we are in economic slowdown. If you talk to like the client you were talking with, there's so many companies that's feedback right now. There's not, the trucks aren't as full. People are working a little bit less. There is economic slowdown going on.
You know, whether the Federal Reserve can see that or not is one thing, but I can't believe that you couldn't go survey 1,000 business owners and find out what's happening in the economy. It's pretty clear that things are massively slowing down. And actually, so just yesterday, the JOLTS report, the job openings report came out. That was like 300,000 jobs, worse than expected. They expected like 8 million job openings. There's 8.3 million. So it was a huge miss. Just showing, hey, there's way fewer job openings than we thought, which means stuff's getting tighter. People are hiring fewer people.
Right.
Who else was actually, I talked to another client yesterday. His son works for a consulting company. Every major project that they thought they had this year is on hold because they consult for big companies, big corporations. I mean, I'm not going to use the names, but if I did, everybody would know them. And the consulting jobs that they'd hired this company to do has put them on hold. His son ended up getting a new job because he's like, there's no work for me.
Yeah, so it's happening.
It's happening.
We can get through a recession and slower economic times without huge crisis, though, which I think is a good lesson here. But regarding the buy now, pay later, those installment purchases that they're referred to, those are going to start factoring in to credit. So the way it is today does not, but they're working towards factoring that in. So they're going to find a way to track it and know. And I think for the reasons we're talking about, that's just, okay, think about our finance system and our economy. It's not very responsible to just have trillions of dollars of debt that doesn't matter for your ability to have access to other credit, right? That's not the adult thing to do, I would say. So they're figuring out a way to track that, and it's going to factor in, and it should.
Yeah, it 100% should. And I just think about like where people consume information. You know, I have so many people that tell me they learned this money hack on TikTok or they watched it on YouTube or whatever it is. And I think people just need to figure out how to build a media filter and figure out what's good financial advice and what's not. And one of the scary things, Gen Z, they're 5 times more likely to go to TikTok to get financial advice than somebody in their 40s. Think about that. I mean, I'm not saying there's all bad financial advice on TikTok, but here's what I remember about TikTok about 3 years ago. Here's how to get $1 million in 12 months and options trading and all this other like wild stuff that was great until it wasn't great again. And people need to be really careful about where they consume their financial information.
And what I'll add to that, if people are consuming TikToks for some financial information, I would think the successful investors, people that are good with money, they can tell the difference between just the stuff that should be entertainment and the stuff that's actually good advice.
So I'm going to tell you when I saw an article that said why this was bad and the missed opportunity. I'm going to tell you what the hack is. And I actually think I'm going to try it because it sounds pretty fun to do. Maybe you can do it.
This is a TikTok hack?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the 100 envelope trick. Okay. And,
what is that?
I read an article, and this is the headline in the article: 100 envelope trick creates missed opportunity. So here's what the 100 envelope trick is. You take 100 envelopes. You put, the first day you put in $1. The next day, the second envelope you put in $2. The third envelope you put in $3, so on and so forth. So by the end of, and you do this for 100 envelopes. So by the time your 100 envelopes are done, you would have actually saved $5,000.
I was trying to, it's 5,000. Wow.
5,000. And the article though, so I actually think that's a good idea. I think, hey, if you're having trouble saving, that's a cool way to do it. It's a little bit of fun, a little bit of challenge, right? There's some sense of accomplishment. You know how we talk about the debt snowball works because it's accomplishing one small thing? Well, putting $1 in the envelope is step one, right? Well, this article talks about the missed opportunity of doing that.
What's the missed opportunity?
The 4 to 5% you would have earned on the $1 you had in the account. They're talking about the missed opportunity of the interest. Do you understand the missed opportunity of 5% interest over that period of time is literally less than like $20. It's minimal. I actually don't know exactly what it is, but it has to be minimal. At the end of 30 days, you're only going to have like a few bucks in there. And the article's saying why this is bad. I mean, this is actually a financial article I found on CNBC talking about this. I'm like, so here's what I think. If someone's having trouble getting an emergency account or you just want to save more money, go try this hack. Because I won't guarantee, but I think it'll work. I think it'll be fun. Then take the $5,000 and go put it into a high yield savings account or whatever you want to do with it. But it'd be a great way. Think about people that aren't doing Roth IRAs. Try this, take the money, save it up in the envelopes, and then take it into your financial advisor or whatever you do and open a Roth IRA. But I think people could do it because they're accomplishing things all along the way. And by the time the numbers get really big, Elias, they're like at the end of the road. Right? Like 30 days in, you're putting $30 in the envelope. You can still do that. Most people could put $30 for $30, $31, $32, $34, $35. They can do it. The last week, they're putting in $100 the last day. Most people could put away $100 in an envelope in one day.
You'd also, the other thing I like about it, you would also figure out kind of your ability to save too. Because let's say you get to, okay, now you're supposed to put 75. Well, I can't do it. I have to wait until my next paycheck to do the $75 envelope. But at least you're starting to build the habits, right, and get used to putting some money away. And I think the article had there's missed opportunity cost. That's kind of silly because I think the point of that exercise is to develop some sort of habit that can lead to better financial habits, which is more good financial habits is the strongest indicator of investor success, in my opinion.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? The financial professionals at Premier Investments and Wealth Management are the guides you've been looking for. Picture this, a financial plan tailored exclusively to you. Our team of experienced professionals will work closely with you to understand your aspirations and develop a personalized roadmap to get you there. Whether you're dreaming of retirement, buying a new home, or sending your kids to college, we've got the tools to give you confidence in your financial life. We'll help you navigate saving and investing, retirement income, and tax strategies. Our job is not just about making money. It's about helping our clients make smart choices. We'll provide you with the tools and knowledge to confidently steer your financial ship toward a brighter future. Are you ready to embark on your financial journey with confidence? Visit www.btwealthshow.com or click the link in the description of this podcast. Your financial future awaits.
That's a good lead-in to this other topic about the retirement gap that's hidden in plain sight. So this was based on the Harvard study of adult development, which has been going on since 1938. So that's a long time to draw data from and start to see trends and understand things. And what I really thought was insightful for investors in this was the article at a high level talks about the importance of relationships in retirement and from a perspective of kind of your mental health, your happiness, and then living a long, healthy life. And then it tied it into, so money's a component of that, right? Which we know and we talk about all the time, how the money part of it is a component of your total life, right? But it's not, whatever you have in your accounts, that's not going to drive any sort of meaningful happiness for you. Now, does money make the world go around, and do you need it to buy the car that you want to have and go on the vacation you want to do? Yeah, it's a necessary thing. What ended up being really, I think, insightful for investors on this was, and I think once people are retired, this really kind of dawns on them, that the transition to retirement can be stressful, and we see that all the time. It causes many emotions. It can be fear. It can be just stress because you're not sure how it's going to work. And they quoted that Allianz study that 2 out of 3 people fear running out of money more than death, right? So that's a pretty emotional toll on people. And then also talked about being socially disconnected and not having kind of purpose and strong relationships can actually be as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes per day.
Come on. No way.
I'm just quoting what they said.
So
in the
being
article.
disconnected from people. Is that what you just said? Disconnected from
The
people.
stress that it can cause equivalent wear and tear to being a consistent smoker, basically, is what they're making the point.
I mean, maybe. I just don't see how. Okay. I believe the article. Devil's advocate. I mean, I think smoking's still bad for you.
Oh, it's terrible for you. But just think if you're, okay, let's say you're socially disconnected and a smoker or something, or like, you know what I mean?
You're
Like
just
you can
compounding the problem.
compound. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're just trying to make a point about it. And they gave 3, I thought, really good, strong strategies or tips to be able to help with that if you're feeling like there's a lack of good relationships and just kind of a lack of purpose. One, just think about if you feel disconnected. Like that's kind of the first step. Do I feel connected in my relationships? The second one, can I improve my current relationships, right? Well, can I look at my current situation and improve that? And then third, is there any opportunity to make new connections? And I think there is, especially when people transition to retirement. If they start working a job that they're not working for the money, it's more of a hobby, well, you're going to immediately have things in common with those people. You could go work at a local farm that runs a produce stand, and now you become friends with the other workers there. You all have a passion for doing that type of work, and you're connected in that way. Or it could be going to the pickleball club and playing pickleball with people. They gave a bunch of different examples, but I think highlighting the emotional and kind of psychological side of how we help people, to me, is always more important than the money side of it. It's a component. The money's a component. It is important, but there's a lot more important things.
Well, here's the thing about the money side. The money kind of is what it is. I mean, if you're
when you're
65 or 60 or whatever age you are, the money is what it is. You got to figure out how to make that work at that point in time, where the social part, you can still build and improve and do all those different things. And for most people, that's probably what's going to bring them more satisfaction than the money part. The money part's the conduit to do the emotional, fun stuff they want to do.
Well, and hopefully they're outsourcing the money part to us or a firm like us that does what we do for people. They don't have to worry about it.
Well, I mean, it comes down to, do you want an outcome or do you want an optimal outcome? What do you want? That's the choice. If you want to do it yourself, you get an outcome. You want to delegate it, you get, hopefully, a more optimal outcome. That's why you hire somebody. Better sense of what you can do with your money, better sense of enjoyment, how to spend it, putting a strategy behind, how do I withdraw it in my first 10 years and enjoy it when I'm really healthy and can do all the fun stuff, versus hoarding it. And then when I'm 83 years old, I had a whole pile of cash. I had some individuals I met with the other day. Mom passed away, had a notebook where all the money was. And he goes, I really feel sorry for my mom. She wrote in the notebook all like her obituary, her husband's obituary, had everything like where it was. And then it said where my money's at. And it wasn't like this was outside of the bank. She'd hidden the money in like 5 different spots throughout the house and written down on paper where it was. It was $79,000.
Wow, that's a lot of cash to have at the house.
And then they went and talked to Dad and said, well, Dad, like, we found this in Mom's money. He goes, well, yeah, that's just Mom's money. That's not my money too. Dad had like 130 or 140,000. They'd hoarded all that. They're in their 80s. And now
dollar bills around the house.
What they said? I feel sorry for my parents because they never spent any of this. Now they got, a couple $100,000 in cash, have IRAs, all this stuff. And Dad's like 83. He goes, I don't need this. He goes, I can't spend this.
Why can't he?
He's 83 years old. He goes, there's nothing I'm going to do. There's nothing I want to do. Like, he just,
Right. You can only buy so many cups of coffee.
Yeah,
lunches.
yeah. And so they made the comment, I feel bad for my parents. I don't want to do that. Well, so no financial advisor. That was the outcome. This family's working with a financial advisor so they can figure out that doesn't become them. They're like, we want to enjoy it and travel and do all these things now. Help us figure out how to do it. At the same time, don't run out of money. And a lot of that starts, people that want to get to the point where they can do what they want to do in retirement and thrive in retirement versus retirement be a nightmare. I don't know if I brought this up in this show, but for our Dallas radio show we have, we had a statistic that 4% of people think they're living the dream retirement. 4% of the people are living a nightmare. 4%. Only 4% are living the dream retirement. 44% said they're, pretty happy. Everybody else was dissatisfied, unhappy, or living a nightmare. I can't believe that if most of those people would have engaged with some type of help early on and got started out on the right kind of saving strategies, they would have been better off. Because most of retirement success, I won't say most, but a lot of it could be overcome by starting earlier. So I think it'd be good for the young people on the show listening. What are some of the really good strategies on how to start saving? And truth be told, the article we just talked about, I think is a great one. The 100 envelope. Yeah. Heck, and here's why.
If you're 22 years old and you can pull off the 100, if you did that in 100 days, I would think that's a really good accomplishment for a 22-year-old. My expectation is most couldn't it in 100 days, but even if you did it over a year or 2 years, at that age, it's hard to do because you're not making any money. You don't have any at that point.
Well, let's just think about the things that get people on the right track to saving, the right strategies. First thing is getting started. Everybody can put $1 in the envelope. And people who are you made a comment about that, maybe they couldn't do it for 100 days. I think most people could do it for 30, right? Because the last week it's saving like $100, $150. So they're going to make it through the first month, right? But here's my question. After you've done it for 30 days, now it's a habit of putting money in this envelope. And the question becomes, would a person get like really creative and figure out how to get it in there? Like, oh man, I'm $1 short today, or I'm $7 short. What do I have around this place I can go sell? Can I take these would people get creative and figure out how to accomplish it because they've done it for 30 days? I mean, once you're committed for 30 days, you're kind of starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're almost halfway home. Like, people won't want to quit. But here's what it does. First, it does the first, what I would call start of the process. You got started. The second thing, it's regular and consistent. Like, you know what you're doing every single day. The third, there's no market timing involved. Doesn't matter. You don't care. It's just putting more money in. If most people did those three things, that's the start to some really great outcome in retirement.
And that's what all of our successful investors have those things in common. They did those things over time.
Those are good points about, the behavior of getting started and how to set up a, saving strategy. The other thing that it does is the reason I like that 100 envelope trick, if you're having trouble getting started, it eliminates procrastination. You have to get started. And we both know, Elias, that time in the market is more important than timing the market. So just getting started, if you can't start putting money away, start $1 at a time. I know it's small. It will add up to big results if you do it consistently.
I like that. I always like when I see that phrase, time in the market's more important than timing the market, because there's almost no simpler way of stating how just market timing does not matter, will not predict future success or anything like that. So I think, as you alluded to, with the strategies of getting started and being consistent, and investing over time, we have a chart here, but it compares dollar cost averaging versus lump sum investing. So it's a pretty insightful chart on why dollar cost averaging is a good strategy. I do want to say this before I dive in. Either way, if you dollar cost average over time, it's going to work. If you lump sum once a year for 25 years, it's going to work too. The outcomes will be different because of the different entry points, and it depends on whether the market's going up or whether the market's going down when you buy. But I think for young people, the strategy of dollar cost averaging is really powerful because when you're getting started, you don't have $100,000 to just go invest. But can you do $100 a week and then increase that over time? You can. So there's a few scenarios on here, and scenario 1 shows the market decreasing in value as you invest $100,000. And when you're looking at the chart, the one that says DCA investor, that's dollar cost averaging. And there's the investment column shows you do $25,000 in the first quarter, $25,000 second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So you do $25,000 investments every 90 days. To compare, where the chart talks about lump sum investing, you put in $100,000 just at the beginning of the year. And this is a year where the market goes down. So you can see down in the results, at the end of the year, when you dollar cost average in a market that's going down or a bear market, your returns, you're down at the end of the year, but you're not down as much as the person who invested lump sum at the beginning of the year. Now, could that be different? Yes, those results could be different. It outlines in the second scenario a potential difference, and one could just be the market going up. So if you're looking at this chart and listening to the show, you'll see that when the market's going up, the lump sum investor over the year did better than the dollar cost averaging investor. And then the other thing I want to point out on this chart, the reason it's called dollar cost averaging, look at the share price, and then in the share price column, look at the average share price that you paid. So that average share price is going to be lower than a lot of your purchases, which is another argument for doing that over time. And as a young person, I think dollar cost averaging in is a great way to do it because you're going to build the habits of being consistent over a long period of time. I think in general, right, we always say, when's the best time to invest? Well, it was yesterday. Regardless of how you're going to do it, you should pick a strategy. And maybe if you feel we're in a bull market and you feel bullish about the market and the economy, be more of a lump sum investor. If you feel bearish or we're in a bear market, then maybe be a dollar cost averaging investor. It's okay to make changes like that, but you should still be consistently investing over time.
Here's what I tell people. If you're 10 years away from your starting to put together a distribution strategy, just ask yourself this question. This will answer whether you should invest or not. Do you believe the market will be higher in 10 years than it is today? And if your answer is yes, then you answered your own question as to when you should invest. Think about the last 7 times before a bear market happened. Everybody was like, man, I invested a horrible time. Well, yeah, but in retrospect, it was still a good time. If you invested right before the financial crisis in September of 2008, before the market crashed, over the next 15 years, that was still a really good time to invest. Like if I had the opportunity to look back and say, hey, would you have liked to invested money September 1st of 2008, I'd invest as much as I could because the market's up 3 times since then. It's up 300%, even though the market went down. But all people focus on is that negative, that, oh man, I would have went down right away. Well, who cares? Just don't look at it. The good news about dollar cost averaging, what you're talking about, Elias, is every single person, not every person, but the majority of people in America are doing dollar cost averaging, whether they like it or not.
in their 401k
There you go.
plan, right?
That's a real benefit of a 401k plan or a workplace retirement plan is typically you're getting dollar cost averaging.
Do you remember last summer us talking about how it was getting hard to buy the market? And and we know the technical data behind it too. So we are starting to see more stocks participate in the bull market, and it was getting difficult to buy, right? Because everyone thought, we're coming out of a bear market. That's a good sign and even now, right now, to me, it seems hard for investors to buy, especially
really hard.
Especially if last summer you didn't get going kind of at the beginning, and it really started before then, but then there was really proof of the bull market and it was difficult to buy. Well, now at all-time highs, market's hard to buy, right? Because people don't want to put the money in and then see it go down 20%. So dollar cost averaging can be a good strategy even for that. Well, I know I want to keep putting money in. It's hard to do a lump sum because we're close to all-time highs. But depending on where you're at and your age as an investor, it might be a way to kind of psychologically just trick yourself into doing what you should do anyway.
Well, let me tell you another reason I think it's hard to buy right now is right now what's happening is a little bit counterintuitive to human behavior. Right now, when there's bad news in the economy, it's actually good news for the stock market. And
that is counterintuitive for investors.
Typically bad news in the economy is bad news for the stock market. But let me tell you kind of what's going on. And there's a chart that was put out by Nationwide. It's actually a great chart. And it just says, why do markets rise on bad news and fall on good news? And it uses what's called the City Economic Surprise Index. And I'm not going to get into this. I'm going to summarize what it really means. Right now, when there's bad news in the economy, like job openings, there's fewer job openings than were expected. That's bad news. Well, today the market's up pretty good. Do you know why? Because now we're signaling that we're going to cut interest rates. So bad news for the economy is signaling good news for the stock market because we're going to cut interest rates. That makes it even harder to invest. Think about it. We just talked about what's happening. Softening economy, fewer jobs, maybe a recession, all these different things, but yet that's actually at this point good news for the stock market because those factors would lend to itself to lowering interest rates. So that makes it even doubly hard.
Right. For the average person and the average investor, because they don't necessarily think about it in those terms. And it's easy to think, okay, slower economic times means the market's going to go down. But you can also, in the way things have played out, you can make an argument that in 2022, the stock market specifically was signaling to everyone future economic slowdown.
100% it was.
Right, but that's the way it works. What I'm saying, most investors don't know. Either they don't know or they just don't think about it that way. Yeah. They don't understand kind of the mechanics of it.
Well, the stock market's a forward-looking, indice. It's predicting the future. It's not predicting what's happening now. It's predicting into the future at some point in time.
Future expectations.
There you go. Yep. So I thought that was just a good thing to bring up because I've had that question. Someone the other day said, well, the stock market's going down because the economy's softening. I had a client who walked in the end of last year, said, I know the stock market's going down. I go, how do you know? Well, what's it up this year? I don't know what it's up. It's up a decent chunk. But I'm like, how do you know it's going down? Well, I know because of this and
TikTok
this.
and YouTube.
So far, it's not down. With that said, I thought it'd be good to hammer out a couple of listener questions that we had here, Elias. I'll read the first one. I'm going to let you handle it. The first listener question we had came from Dave. He asked, my wife and I have done a pretty good job saving in our 401k. We've done a lot of sacrificing over the years to prioritize our retirement. We are both now in our 50s, recently became grandparents, and our priorities are starting to shift. Would it be a bad idea to decrease our 401k savings and spend a little bit more money on experiences and travel with our family?
Wonderful question here. And would it be a bad idea to decrease 401k savings. So this is a depends answer, right? Because it depends on how good of a saver you've been, the financial planning work you've done. But I will say a lot of successful investors at this point in their life saving at the rate they've been saving for a long time doesn't really move the needle as far as their future success is concerned. And when you're working with a family that's they're on the 2-yard line at this point. If they have enough money to retire, you don't need to continue saving as much as you are if there's other things you want to spend money on. Now, I think the flip side of that I would take with people is people don't retire and say, oh, I wish I had less money saved now. But is there a balance in that decision? Absolutely. There always is. And a couple things to just keep in mind. If you are going to lower your contributions to the 401k because you don't need to save as much for your retirement outcome, well, still take the free money. Right? Like don't lower it so low that you don't get the full match. That'd be silly to do. But yeah, if there's things you want to spend money on and you don't have to save because you've already been successful at that, then yeah, absolutely. It's not a bad idea to decrease. It might be a good idea for you. I think the important things, though, that decision should be made through consulting your financial plan and working with your investment professional to help you decide that so it's not a guess.
Great answer. I'll take the next one here. Amy sent a question in. Her question is, my husband is turning 73 this year, needs to start taking a required minimum distribution. They don't need the money. He's working and has earned income. Can we just roll the required minimum distribution into a Roth IRA? And I hear this a lot. People really like to think that, hey, the RMD, I can roll to a Roth IRA, or I can roll it over somewhere and that'll satisfy this RMD requirement. That will not satisfy it. The required minimum distribution must be distributed from the IRA. Means it actually has to come out. You pay tax. So I like to explain this to people in this fashion. If you have two sides of a fence, and this side is your IRA, we need to cross the fence and pay the tax. We can keep the money invested. We can put it in a different account, but you have to cross the tax fence and pay the tax on that distribution. The good advantage for this individual is they could cross the tax fence, pay the tax. They could contribute up to the amount this individual made in a part-time job as long as it was within the contribution limits. So you can still do a Roth IRA. There's no age limit on when you can contribute. There's just an income limit. So you could take the money, put it in a Roth IRA because you have earned income. You just have to pay the tax on the distribution. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for listening to the show today. I thought it was a really good show. I appreciate you being on the show with me, Elias. If anybody out there is looking to get started and get a premier vision document, you can go to btwellshow.com or click the link in the description. If you have a listener question or any other general questions, btwellshow.com. You have any closing remarks, Elias?
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.